Hey everyone, welcome to this week's episode of Show Me How It's Done. My name is Laura Nerbonis and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator here in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. I am delighted to be back with you guys live this week. I have been away in Norway and London on a trip with my husband for a couple weeks. And then when I came back, I had a few days to catch up on laundry and see my kids here at home. And then I was off to Calgary because my baby sister got married this past weekend. And it was just such a pleasure to be able to go early, help her get some last minute details finished, and then be a part of her special day. And yeah, so I have not been home. I feel like I haven't been in my craft room for weeks, basically. And so today, what I wanted to show you was a series of cards that had been kind of mulling around in my brain the whole time we were on our trip, because I knew that this little add-on kit was going to be waiting for me when I got back. And I'm really pleased with how they turned out. My intent was that you would be able to order this Exploring in Color add-on kit. It is available for $13.75 Canadian, and you get 18 cards and envelopes in this package. So the beauty of that is with this design, basically you could sit down and once you've prepped all your little decals, you can just make a whole bunch of these. You don't need to use the sentiments that I did, but you'll end up with a whole whack of cards that you can pass out. So some of you are kind of thinking, oh, this looks a little familiar. It might. So the Paper Pumpkin kit for May was this beautiful Exploring in Color. And if we just open it up, it came with a really cute stamp set. I don't know if we can read it. So there's Happy Birthday, Cheers to Another Adventure, Life is meant for good friends and great adventure, and it doesn't matter where you're going, it's who you have beside you. So this was the stamp set that came with the kit, and there was a little ink spot, copper clay, and this really fun set of cards. So this kit came with 9 cards, this fun little canoe, and the little bison in the field with a tent, and of course a nice grassy mountain. So what Stampin' Up! Decided to do was they were going to treat us to the option of adding on an additional set of cards. You can see the patterns are slightly different, but they all keep the same color scheme and kind of nature vibe. So along that line, unfortunately, you can no longer order these Paper Pumpkin kits. The kits come around the 17th of every month, but you have to order them by the 10th. I do have a couple of these in stock, so I can sell them to you as of the 10th this month. If you do want to have the full kit here with the stamp and the ink, but there are refills available right now that are $15. So that gives you only the cards from this packet, doesn't give you the stamp and the ink. So if you're interested in any of those options, you can either just message me if you need a hand, or I've put my website at the bottom of the page. So all of the supplies I'm showing you and talking about today, you can always go to the page there and you can order them online straight to your house here in Canada. So this Paper Pumpkin kit I'm not playing with. I'm playing with that add-on set that I mentioned. So I wanted to be able to get as many cards out of this as possible. And so I'm going to show you these 3 cards, and I'm just going to show you how to make one of them because the idea is the same for all 3. So I'm going to pick this guy. You can tell it's the one with the orange backing. So I've got my nice envelope full of supplies, and I'll bring these back at the end or post a picture for you if you want to see the final 3 again. But let's get going. So I have my card base that, would have come like so, and all you need to do is fold on a nice little scored line from Stampin' Up! And then I thought, hey, I really want to play with some birds in the sky. So this is not from the stamp set at all. It's from the New Horizons stamp. And I decided, hey, I'd like some birds. We have a few really cute ocean sets and even past sets that have birds in the sky too. So I'm just going to take my Memento black and add that little detail up in the sky so the birds kind of look like they're flying very subtly. Okay, so an optional add-on, if you will. Now let's get to our little decal. So I was drawn to the stamp set He's All That because I wanted to make this a nice masculine card. It's June, it's time for Father's Day, so I thought this compass was kind of perfect for me to use with the mountain scene, but of course you could always substitute in some of the other sentiments as well. And I think I've got it here because I was just playing with it. It's very messy. This is a new stamp set that just came in our catalog, so this would also be a fun option for you because you've got Happy Father's Day, so glad you're my dad. You could even make this a retirement card. Basically, the intent is to take any stamp set that you have with a sentiment that you'd like, and we're going to put it onto a circle image. So the circles that I've chosen to use are one of my favorite punches. This is the 1 3/4 inch punch. You will not find this in the catalog at all, because this was a punch that was in the catalog years and years and years ago. It was retired. And then Stampin' Up! Must have gotten so much feedback from people saying, we love that punch, we miss that punch, that they added this 1 3/4 inch punch and the 2-inch punch to their online exclusive selection. So if you haven't heard of online exclusives, those are basically products that they don't appear anywhere in any catalog, but the beauty of that is some of them are returning retired products that people have probably like really loved and Stampin' Up's decided to just give us a little restock of. There are also kits that are constantly changing and constantly being restocked. So if you ever see a kit that's out of stock, but it's still on the site, it means there's just waiting for another stock. And as soon as it'll come back, that number will come back on and you can order it again. So basically anything you see in the online exclusives, Stampin' Up! Is either going to replace if they're super popular, they'll reorder them and you can still get them no matter if you're in or out of a catalog period, or if they're things that Stampin' Up! Is maybe just kind of like, we're just doing a little one shot, you know, enjoy this for the moment thing, it will come and go as those are posted. So I really like the online exclusives because I'm hoping for a few other things, maybe like the crocodile to come back, and that was just a really handy tool. So anyways, this is the 1 3/4 inch circle punch, and so what you can do with this guy is basically any image that you want that fits in this space you can use for your project, or you can use a different size circle too. We have lots of different circle punches. We have the stylish shapes dies with multiple circles. It's completely up to you. All right, so what I'm going to do is I have this compass, this Everyday With You is Another Adventure. I've mounted that and I would like to emboss it on some colored paper. So I guess I did use wild wheat for that one. Let's switch. I have all of those ready. Here we go. Okay, wild wheat is what I chose for this card, but you can see I have all these different combinations of wild wheat, mossy meadow, boho blue, and the new copper clay. So you can mix and match those however you want. They'll look great on any of the cards because they all have the same color schemes. So here we go. Let's go wild wheat. We've got our nice stamp set. And when we do embossing, we always need our sticky Versamark ink. So I've got that already. Just tap, tap, tap. And stamp. Now I like to just stamp on like a strip of paper so I can get multiples out of this. And I have something to hold on to then. I don't need to worry about my cards or my fingers getting burned. So here we go. I've got a nice little tray that I'm going to sprinkle my white embossing powder over top of. And you can just kind of tap, 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 tap. We do have brushes if you feel like you've gotten a lot around the edge, but do keep in mind we're barely showing any of the perimeter. So if you've got a mark like out here, that's not going to matter because we're punching that part off. Okay, so don't stress about it. Bring your heat tool over and you're going to start seeing your colors change from this powdery look to something glossy. So you won't be able to hear me while my tool is on, but you should be able to see some of that change happening as we go. I'll just stop you there. Do you see on the bottom left, it's kind of started to get glossy? I need to keep going. There we go. As soon as one of your sections gets glossy, you can move to something else. You don't have to keep heating on that one spot, but you do want to make sure that all the spots end up glossy, otherwise you're going to miss something. So with your punches, there is this little button on the bottom that clicks open and then your punch will kind of pop up. I like to feed my paper in through the top here so I can see exactly what I'm cutting just in this little window like that. Okay, so when you're ready, when you feel like it's lined up, just little press and out pops your decal. Now, before we add the decal to the card, I thought it would be fun to add this little piece of cardstock in behind. So again, pick whichever color cardstock you want to mix and match. You're going to need a piece that's about 3/4 of an inch wide by 3 inches long. And if you own the Banners Pick-a-Punch, this guy actually can make banner ends for you in 3 different sizes. So you could have a 1/2 inch piece of cardstock, a 3/4 inch, or a 1 inch piece of cardstock, and it'll make these banner ends for you on all 3 of those sizes, or you can have this fun kind of reverse banner edge instead. So I'm going to show you how to use the punch, but then I will show you on a scrap, if you don't own the punch, what you can do as well. Okay, so here we go. So we're going to feed this in just like the circle. I like to flip it over and just make sure I'm lined up correctly on the end. And then same for the other side, just flip that around and make sure you're kind of dead center as much as possible and clip. So there, you've made this adorable little banner. Now let's say you don't own the banner Pick-a-Punch, though you probably will want it because it's adorable. Let's just say you have a pair of scissors. So on the end of a piece of paper, you can make just the tiniest little notch. Sorry, there we go. Kind of in the middle of your paper. There's a little notch here now. Then we're gonna go and make a triangle cut from the corner to that center line that you just cut up to. And that center line does not need to be very tall at all. You probably wanted just only about 1/4 of an inch. Then on the other side, from this right-hand corner to that same center line, there, you have a banner. So this is a great option for you to do if you don't own that banner punch, or we used to have a few other punches that made banners, dies that made banners, so you can use those too. Okay, let's get this mounted. So for me to put these two together, I've decided just to use a little bit of double-sided tape, and that's going to put my compass right in the middle of my Mossy Meadow little banner strip. Like so. Happy with that. Okay, now on the back, this is where things are going to get a little bit fun because I want to add this fun little twine. So this is just Stampin' Up! Linen thread, and I've cut myself about 12 inches of it. So what I'm going to do before I even start wrapping this is I'm just going to flip this over and put a couple pieces of double-sided tape or a couple strips of seal on the back so that my twine has something to stick to when I have it ready. Okay, so I want this flipped over and ready. Then I'm going to take my twine and about 3 fingers. If you want a larger circle of twine, then use 4 fingers. If you want it smaller, use 2. But 3 is good for me. So I'm going to hold it with my thumb. Then I'm just going to wrap as many times as that twine goes, so that I end up with this kind of fun little circle of twine. Notice I'm just pinching the 2 ends that would be loose together so it doesn't unravel. And then you can decide where you want this placed. If you want it kind of on the top, on the side, on the bottom, it's not going to make a difference. It's all going to look amazing. But we're going to just gently slip that behind so you can see kind of some of those loops hanging out, and press it against the tape or seal that you have down. Okay? Now, if you're really worried, if you think those ends maybe aren't sticking down properly, you can always come in here now and put just one more piece of tape across to hold everything, because we're going to pop this up on dimensionals, so it won't really matter if there's that little extra thickness in there. Okay? So let's give ourselves quite a few dimensionals, because we want to make sure this is very nice and sturdy. And this can be placed then on your card. And you saw on my other samples, I decided to put it in different positions. For this one, I thought this wide open space by the pathway was kind of perfect. So that's where I've decided to put this piece. But if you've got kind of this horizontal card with the river, I ended up putting the birds here. And I guess it was kind of in the same position on that card. But this one has a different view because I didn't want to block this cute little campfire with anything. So I decided to kind of float my decal up in the top there. And then my birds just kind of come flying towards it. And if you don't have birds, don't stress it. It was just something I added because I thought it was cute. Now, one last thing, because I can't get enough of these guys. These pebble enamel shapes were in our catalog last year. They have been retired, but they're on the clearance rack for $4.10. So stock up on some of these, because I have used them with multiple stamp sets that have come out since this has been retired. And it's a perfect addition for your nature little scenes here. So there's 3 colors, kind of a lighter gray, darker gray, and this, it was Cajun Craze when it was out. It definitely looks like our copper clay. So I've just cut myself 3 little stones in my kit, so 1 of each basically in the shapes. And for this, I decided to kind of cluster them around this rock, but you can put them wherever you want, really. There's no rhyme or reason to where you have to put them. I just thought they definitely add something to the card, and I might as well use them. There's 1, 2, and ooh, crooked little stone. Come on. I went down very fast. Come on. There you go. Try that again. There, 1, 2, and 3. There is your card. Pretty easy to do, especially if you decide to prep a bunch of these little decals. And speaking of the decals, let me just get these back in the shot for you. So there's the 3 options again. You can also play with other colors. Maybe you wanted a boho blue little compass, or maybe you don't want to emboss at all. So then you're just going to stamp on some white. And I used the copper clay for this one, but of course, if you used Mossy Meadow, probably boho blue. If you use the wild wheat, it's probably a little light, so it's okay as long as you can read it. But something this detailed, I kind of wanted something dark. But those are a couple other options for you if you don't want to emboss or you want to choose a different color. The whole point of this card set is basically that you can kind of mix and match, and you can play as much as you want with some of your different things. So you might not have that same stamp, but you could have something else, and it's a really fun and cheap way for you to make a whole bunch of cards for your friends or for Father's Day. So I hope you guys like the cards. I am so glad to be back with you. I have lots of fun projects coming up for June for you. But before I let you go, I need to mention I have posted on my Lauren's Scrapblock page the details for my online my all-day retreat at the end of June. And I've had a couple people just messaging and asking, so I thought I would just kind of highlight on the video. So my all-day retreat is featuring these 2 stamp sets. There are options for you to do the retreat from home if you're not here in Edmonton. All I do is I video tutorials, just kind of like I'm doing here. Half of the projects will be using cheerful daisies. Half of the projects will use beautiful balloons. And so the intent is you'll pick a registration option that includes one of these stamps for free so that you can do all the stamping for that. And then there are registration options that include dies for this. You can also get both of the stamp sets if you like it as well. So I'm just going to leave that in your hands to kind of read through. But there was confusion about like, well, what if I pick the beautiful balloons? Do I still get to make the projects with cheerful daisies? Yes, you do. You just might not, if you're doing it from home, be able to add the same sentiments that I am, because all that I'm able to include for you is the die cut pieces for the projects. So you just have to sub in something else that you own at home that has like a birthday sentiment or something else to kind of fill in the details. So if that makes sense, hopefully. And then the other thing that I wanted to mention is my early bird deadline has passed. I now have to expedite orders if you want to still participate, which I'm happy to do, but your cost, you don't get that $15 in savings, but you can still register up until June 15th for this event. And so you can either come to my house in Edmonton and craft the day away, or we can send you kits that you can pick up, or we can mail those out to in a flat rate shipping box for $18. So it's a whole day worth of tons of projects, tons of games, tons of prizes, and even if you're taking the to-go kit, you're still going to get all those treats too, so don't worry about it. If you have questions or if you are in Canada and want to register, I'm happy to send you those details. But thank you so much for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing you next week at noon for another edition of Show Me How It's Done. Bye.